Guys, today we're going to be counting down the things you missed. The deep dive Bethesda gave during the Xbox showcase for Starfield. Yes, we are very excited about this game. No, we do not have rose-tinted glasses on. I do understand that the sheer scope of this game almost sounds too good to be true. With that being said though, these are the 10 things you may have missed. Starting with 30 frames per second. I know that's a big one. I kind of just want to go ahead and get this out of the way. But essentially, guys, this was revealed after the Starfield Direct. In an interview with IGN and Bethesda's Todd Howard, following the showcase, Howard confirmed that Starfield will be locked at 30 frames per second on consoles, that being 1440p for the S and 4K for the X. And we've already gotten like the minimum and recommended specs here for Starfield. So I'm sure if you're looking to power this thing at its best, most ultra settings, you're gonna need a very good PC. Shout out to Starforge, who we are partnered with, link down below. With that being said though, the community was sent into a frenzy over this, considering like Redfall's extremely poor performance was still fresh in everyone's minds. Now Howard did go on to explain after revealing this, quote, "I think it'll come as no surprise, given our previous game, what we go for. Always these huge open worlds, fully dynamic, hyper detail where anything can happen. And we do want to do that. We do lock it at 30 frames per second because we want that fidelity. We want all that stuff. We don't want to sacrifice any of it. Fortunately, in this way, we've got it running great. It's often running way above that. Sometimes it's 60. But on consoles, we do lock it because we prefer this consistency, where you're not even thinking about it. So yes, Starfield will only be playable at 30 frames per second when it releases on September 6, 2023 for both Xbox consoles. Now, who's to say that Starfield may not get an update down the road, and hopefully it does, where you can actually like lower the resolution, but up the frames. And to me, that's actually more ideal. I like to play at 1440p myself, but higher frame rates. Now, could the Series X handle 1440p resolution at 60 frames per second? Again, when you start dipping back on resolution and you're cranking out more frames, it starts to become very CPU dependent, which is why on some of my rigs, I actually will get better frame rates at higher resolutions. And that's simply because the GPU is picking up the load, but this does really come back to how the developers optimize things themselves. Not having that 60 or 120 frame option in 2023 does suck. But I will say this, it is not the end of the world. And the reason why I bring this up is because the game that is now in the running right now for Game of the Year is a 30 FPS game. That's right, guys. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Arguably game of the decade. And yes, it would have been nice to have played that game at 60 FPS, but dude, I don't even care, man. It was such a good game that I'll play it every single day at 30. So this is not the end of the world here for Starfield. Now, the second thing that you may have missed, space travel and combat. Now, at Starfield, you'll be traveling all over the galaxy in your state-of-the-art starship. And within your star map, you'll begin by viewing an individual planet and then choosing a landing spot. Now, this can be practically anywhere on the celestial body, or you can choose to fast travel to any known locations that might be available. Now, if you zoom out further within the star map, you'll be able to view the whole solar system that planet resides in. And you zoom out even further, you'll be able to see all the systems within that part of the galaxy. Now, you can inspect and visit every planet and moon within these systems, with some planets having key locations, missions, and life on them, while others are more barren planets. However, they could be abundant in a certain resource. Now, when flying in open space between the planets, you won't be alone out there. There's a chance you can actually encounter enemy ships, and if you do, you can respond in a number of ways. You can actually shoot down the ship, you can turn it into scrap and literally loot it directly from your cockpit, or you can literally board the ship and personally kill everyone on board. Part of me wonders if I can like find some sort of like alien specimen that's like extremely deadly, but I like board a ship and just release it on them, right? And just let that ship drift off into space, all Expanse style, right? Now, you can actually bring any ship that you take down back to any spaceport, and you can add it to your fleet and retrieve it at any time that you want. Now, the next thing I want to bring up that you may have missed is actually obtaining and modifying your ships. You're going to be able to upgrade or even have the chance to acquire completely new ships in Starfield. Now, getting a ship will actually be pretty simple. According to Bethesda, it all starts at spaceports. At every one of these spaceports, there will be a ship technician who you can talk to buy, sell, or even modify a ship. Now, we've known for quite a while that you'll be able to customize your ship in Starfield, but then we got the details on how much we can customize. Guys, you can literally do whatever you want with your ship. You want to make Optimus Prime? Go right ahead. You want to make a giant dong and fly it through space and pierce the unknown? By all means. Customization is completely yours. The weapons, the engines, the cockpit, the reactor, cargo bay, everything is customizable. And these really change the dynamic of your ship because inside, depending on what you add, these allow for more modifications. Things like crafting modules, living quarters, an entire mess hall. How you modify your ship and the type of ship you use is going to greatly affect how you play the game. And on some levels, it can potentially affect how far you can get location to location. But keep in mind, guys, speccing out a ship just for travel and voyaging could put you in a sticky spot when you suddenly find yourself in a dogfight and you got no weapons. So I'm sure a good balance here is going to be very important. Now, the next point you may miss, character customization, traits, and skills. When creating your character, you'll have a number of presets, and Bethesda actually said 40 presets, and they claim that there's going to be new character customization systems here that offers more than ever before. But at the same time, it's the simplest character generation system that they've ever had. Now, they also go on to say that character creation is more than just how you look. Backgrounds play an important role in who you want your character to be. This gives you a bit of a backstory and allows you to start off with 3 basic traits. Now, you have roughly 20 backgrounds to choose from, and you never know when your background may come in handy. If you played previous Bethesda games, you know how this goes, guys. On top of that, you can pick 3 additional traits that each come with their own advantage and disadvantages. Now, just to name a few, you've got things like Hero Worshipped, that literally gives you the fanboy from Oblivion who will join your crew and give you gifts, but may drive you mad with annoyance. You've got Kid Stuff, where you need to pay 10% of your credits to your parents, but in return, you can go visit them. Curious to know what the benefit is there. Then you got Serpent's Embrace, that can allow you to get by certain enemies you may encounter. One in that gives you a damage buff as your health gets lower, but mercenaries will randomly start hunting you. Bethesda also mentioned that there are going to be ways to remove your traits, but that's for us to discover. Once you have your character created and your traits picked out, the next step is to upgrade and unlock skills. And each time you rank up in the game, you earn 1 skill point, which can be used to unlock a new skill or upgrade an existing skill. Now, we have 5 different categories of skill trees: physical, social, combat, science, and tech. Inside each skill tree, you will also find 4 rows of ranks to choose from. You unlock ranks by completing specific challenges that are associated with that skill, with these challenges becoming increasingly more difficult as you work your way through these ranks. You very much have the ability to choose, guys, which skills suit your playstyle, and then upgrade the ranks associated with that skill tree. Now, if you want to be a stealth player, pickpocket enemies easily and sneak your way around, you can do that. Upgrade your science tree, and you can mind control aliens. And then you also have the option to just run and gun, upgrading that boost pack to give you an edge in combat. And for my Italian mains out there from Destiny, yes, you can literally fist your enemies from one galaxy to the other. Now, the next thing you may have missed, Constellation Group. This is where your story begins. Bethesda describes Constellation as a mythical group, the last true explorers in the galaxy who are trying to find the answers to some of humanity's biggest questions. Now, we're invited after completing some missions on our own to visit them in New Atlantis on the planet Jemison. The Constellation Group is made up of 7 distinct members. You've got Sarah Morgan, an ex-soldier and adventurer who is the leader of the group, Noel, the scientist of the group, as well as Sarah Morgan's protege, Matteo, the theologian, who's a staunch believer that something must exist out in the unknown. You've got Walter, who is Constellation's financer, as well as a very successful businessman. Vlad, an ex-pirate and sterling mixologist. Sam Coe, a former space cowboy of the Freestar Collective. And Barrett, a man with enough charisma and charm, he could talk you out of your spacesuit and you'd thank him for it. Now, Constellation Group is interested in an artifact found by you, the player, that is said to predate human civilization. And that's essentially where the main story takes place. I know there was a lot of people yesterday saying that, hey, Cross, the main story from Bethesda games are normally terrible. Personally, I've always enjoyed the main stories. I definitely don't jump on the main storyline first. I hit everything else and kind of save that main story for last. But both Oblivion and Skyrim, main storylines for both of them were solid. We're not talking like God of War cinematic experiences, but good enough for this kind of game. Now, the next thing you may have missed, combat. Earlier, we discussed space combat, but we also have traditional combat using guns, knives, swords, and yes, even your fists. Now, you're gonna have a lot of customization here. Your weapons being heavily customizable, from your sights, scopes, magazine size. You could change your weapon grips, barrels, change out different ammunition options like explosive rounds. If you want to play stealthy, you can slap on a suppressor. And if you remember last year when we first saw combat for Starfield, I don't know about you guys, I was not impressed. Matter of fact, I was very concerned. It did not look fluid, but in Xbox's showcase this past year, it looked good. Like really, really good. The first person mechanics look fluid and something that I would actually expect to see in a PvP game. This is also the largest number of weapon and mod options that Bethesda has ever done in one game, with a number of things that can really change how you approach combat. They mentioned gravity being different from planet to planet, which pushes you to approach encounters differently, especially with the boost packs, which you got grenades, mines, and a number of abilities at your disposal. And if that wasn't cool enough, they also have zero gravity combat as a core gameplay feature that will completely alter our experience. Ballistic weapons will actually push you back as you fire them in this area. And then they have things like energy weapons that are more stable in zero gravity. Then you also have mag weapons, which are more powerful and akin to power weapons from Destiny. These bad boys feature tracking lasers in each barrel. Now, the last thing I was not expecting from Bethesda was space magic. That's right, guys. Near the end of the Starfield Direct, we see our character extending their hand, and then you see like the world distorting around them, and then suddenly everyone gets taken out. So again, curious to know like how far we can go with this, but dude, I am always down with some space magic. Now, another thing you may have missed, exploration and planets. Guys, Starfield is filled with thousands of planets and moons to explore. Some colonized and some very wild. New Atlantis is the first major human settlement in space, and it is part of the United Colonies. Now, the people you find among the United Colonies are said to value law, discipline, and the legacy of humanity. You can even join the United Colonies and work alongside them. Now, elsewhere in the United Colony space, we also have the city of Sidonia on Mars, which serves as the largest mining facility in the United Colonies. And you can even find other colonies as you explore deeper, like the Freestar Collective. Their capital is Aquila City. This place looks straight out of Red Dead Redemption, filled with bars and cowboys. We also have Neon, which is known as the Pleasure City. And you can see, guys, there's a lot of similarities between Night City from Cyberpunk and Neon. And they describe it as a place where almost anything goes. Now, 20 years before Starfield takes place, there's actually a conflict between these two colonies referred to as the Colony War. Not much is known yet about this conflict, but the two colonies currently live in uneasy peace. Outside of these two collectives, there are hundreds of unclaimed systems to explore that are home to some of the most hostile factions in the galaxy. Things like the Great Serpents, the Red Mile, as well as the Crimson Fleet. Now, previously in the last Starfield showcase, Bethesda mentioned there are other enemies such as ecliptic mercenaries, violent spacers, and the religious zealots. Then the next thing you may have missed, outposts. Once you've explored a planet and found the place you want to call home, you could set up a home base there, otherwise known as an outpost. You can set this up on any planet on almost any terrain. And it uses a camera system called Flycam, which lets you toggle between on-foot building and building using a top-down isometric camera. Now, at your outpost, you can set up extractors to gather resources while you're away. And you can even assign your crew and companions to help run this place for added bonuses. I think where this is going to be really beneficial is that one planet that has that specific resource you're going after, right? Like that's where you're going to want to put this outpost. Which takes us to our next thing you may have missed, companions. But more so than that, romance. That's right, guys. Just like all Bethesda games, you can have companions. These are literally NPCs that you pick up on your journey, and they can stay on your ship with you or even man some of your outposts. And even some of the members of Constellation will be able to join you as well. Now, each companion and crew member comes with their own unique set of skills to assist you, and they even have their own quest lines that you can explore, with those friendships blossoming into potential romances. It doesn't end there either. If you want an assist, your crew members can even go out exploring with you. One of the key members of your crew will be Vasco the robot. Now, romance between your companions are nothing uncommon. Back in Skyrim, you could even marry Lydia. You had to jump through some hoops. You had to own a home in Whiterun. You also had to wear an amulet of Mara, and this would initiate the dialogue that she was interested in you. I wouldn't be surprised if we have to have a certain ship before one of our companions actually speaks up. Now, finally, the last thing on this list, there will be different additions for Starfield. And yes, you can get 5-day early access. You have the standard edition, which comes with the base game. And if you pre-order, you get access to the old Mars skin pack, which contains skins for your laser cutter, deep mining helmets, and deep mining pack. Now, the standard edition is $70. Then you also have the digital premium edition. This includes the base game and the old Mars skin pack, but this also includes up to 5 days early access, which is huge. That means you can start playing as early as September the 1st. Now, it is more expensive. It's $100. Personally, for us, it is worth it because we're going to be streaming the game. And there are some other benefits here. And if you happen to purchase the standard edition and decide later you want to upgrade to the premium edition, you can do so. They'll tack on the extra $30. Now, they also have a Constellation edition. This is the one that comes with that watch. Now, they mentioned in the showcase that the watch would be able to be used with your phone, and it almost sounded like it was going to be an Apple Watch. Turns out that's not really the case. Like, it's going to be able to link up to your phone, but your apps aren't going to work on it. It doesn't work with self-service. You can't send text messages. It's just a watch, guys. Like, literally, that's what it is. So if you're purchasing this thing thinking, oh my God, I can get an Apple Watch that looks like the Starfield Chrono Mark, think again. Now, this is very expensive, currently $300. But for my collectors out there, I know there's a number of you from Destiny that like to get those collector editions just to have those pieces of artwork. So guys, those are the 10 things you may have missed. We are hyped about this game. Granted, the scope of it is huge. This is arguably the most ambitious game Bethesda has ever made. And if they capitalize on this right, this could be a game in the running for Game of the Year. Guys, if you're looking to watch this live, we will be streaming the game on September the 1st, pretty much losing our life to Starfield. We're going to devote a lot of time to it, so come join us. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.